Hi, welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Norman, your host. I think we have an interesting theme show today, and I think you're going to find this to be quite an extraordinary duo of gentlemen. At the age of 68, Paul Nuechterlein won a national Cal 25 championship this past weekend on Lake St. Clair. He's going to talk to us what it's like to win a championship at that age. And if that doesn't meet the standard, Greg Coburn from Toronto talked to us a little bit about winning the North American Shark Championship at the age of 70. So if they tell you you can't do better things at older ages, take a look at both of these gentlemen, because I think it's a tribute to both their age and their sailing ability, and it was a real treat to talk to them. We will get to both of those guys in a couple of seconds, so stay tuned, and we'll be back in a minute.
We're talking with Paul and Ross Nuechterlein, who are now national champion Cal 25 sailors. The nationals just run here at Crescent Sail Yacht Club. Paul, 68 years old, your first national championship. I guess the first question is, what goes through your head?
I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, and I'm not going to believe it. I'll have a smile on my face, because I didn't think it would ever be possible, and all of a sudden it happened. And we just had a beautiful regatta. Years ago, a couple of my best friends said, we should find some way of racing together someday, and I was able to do it. I brought a couple of good friends on, and when good friends have talent, it really comes together nice. So we've been racing together a couple of years. But I bought my boat way back in 1978, and it's been a family boat for fishing and just general sailing. 2005 I started racing it, because I was racing other Cal 25s and realizing putting another Cal 25 on the line and showing people that you can just bring any boat out here and have a good time racing, that was my only intent, even if I was last. But over the years, we've been able to make the boat go faster and faster. And when the boat goes fast and is able to get up front in a regatta, it's incredible.
A fishing boat doesn't go fast, so it must have been a part-time kind of a deal.
1.8 knots is the best boat speed for catching walleye in the dumping ground going downstream.
Ross, you're on the boat with your dad. You come across the line, it's a championship. What's your thoughts for Dad? Just it's father and son thing, which is pretty cool. Well, what goes through your head?
Well, he's in front of me on the boat, but as long as he's still on the boat and I don't have to pick him up behind me, that's the happiest thing I can do. So besides that, we go fast off the line and pick off boats as we go. So.
In talking with him earlier in the day, he kind of suggested it was a close race. It turns out you win by 18 points. So you obviously had, start to finish, you won this event as a group. Your version of why you guys won the Cal 25 championship against some serious competition here in Lake St. Clair.
It's just consistency, and in the Cal fleet, there's a lot of good boats. First to last, every single boat can beat you every single time, and just keep an eye on the competition and make sure that you hit the ship before everybody else.
Paul, talk briefly about a crew, and we'll come back to your thought, but talk briefly about a crew that's not exactly a bunch of slumps. You had some serious talent on board.
Number one, they're my best friends. So going out, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. We eat together and we party together afterwards, and it doesn't make any difference. But we have learned to sail together. We know now how to make that boat go really quick. And a lot of Cal 25 sailors love to go upwind. We like to go fast.
You said win, lose, or draw. Would you rather win than lose or draw, I'm assuming?
I'm trying to guess, but yeah, I like the winning part.
Has it hit you yet that you just won a national championship?
Not at all. Tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'll probably hit myself in the face a few times. I can't believe this because I didn't think it would ever be possible, Greg.
It turns out, we did some checking last night with U.S. Sailing, and it turns out you are one of about 100 folk in the last decade to win a championship over the age of 65. And in the last 25 years of U.S. Sailing, there's only been less than 200 that have won those kind of championships. So the odds of winning a championship at 68 are greater than becoming a golden ram for the Mackinac race, which is 50 races completed. So if you think about it in terms of those numbers, that's a pretty interesting. Think about all the people that are involved in U.S. sail racing. That's a lot of bodies.
Well, the good thing is Ross is an incredible helmsman, and it's easier to get good trimmers. And I got great trimmers right now. So if I do bow, it solves the equation on our boat.
Ross, we talked before, and either you or Paul can answer this question. The last time they built a Cal 25 was probably 1978 or 9. Is that about right?
Maybe even before. Yeah.
Okay, somewhere in the mid-70s.
Mine's a 68.
So these are old boats. We know that the Cal has built some unbelievable boats after that. I mean, Cal 28 is one of the best sailing boats for its size that you could ever purchase. My point is, this is really an old boat, yet the zealousness of the crews. Why this boat, and what is it that's so special about it?
Well, you can get out of the harbor by yourself. You can go sailing, you can go fishing, you can go cruising. You can put a family on the boat. It's a huge cockpit, and there's a lot of them. And the price is right, so it goes a long way when you're putting a cruising program together.
Yeah. And you can almost go just as fast with the number 1 head sail than even putting the main up. So it's a great cruising boat.
Is there any intangibles that you thought about as you're crossing the line winning? Is there any thoughts that went in your head that maybe you didn't think about until you actually won?
Don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Okay. Are you still up? Are you still up in the clouds a little bit?
I am. I have no idea what's even going on right now. I'm feeling really good about this. Yeah.
Okay. What was the best part of the day, Ross?
Finishing, it was light air all weekend, and we got off the line in the third race, and the breeze was up, and that's what we like racing in, and rather than the chest match and the light air. So, breeze came up, and we knew we could just play our game and finish strong.
In the light of that, who's still the best Nuechterlein sailor in this family?
Oh, Ross.
Okay.
Yeah, no question. He helps me to make good decisions. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Make this official for tonight. Myself? Yep. Right into the sprinkler system. A boat by the name of Nuechterlein, which is never alone. Ron Sherry, Ken Swetka, Tommy Dawson, Ross Nuechterlein, and Paul Nuechterlein. National Cal 25 champions.
Ken.
Yeah, grab the big one, Ross.
Where's Ross? Come on, get another body over Ross, come on. What do you guys shake this? There you go. Paul and Ross gotta have the big one. You gotta be in the middle. Ronnie, you don't have to cover up the first. Oh. Get the sword.
Hey,
Get in here, Kenny.
it's a piece of paper out of his hand. Get that. Yeah, there you go.
Peg Leg coming up here, and the true pirate, but we love him as a great Cal 25 sailor from way back that I remember even when I started sailing down here. His name is Mike Hoy. Mike Hoy on Artemis.
You back step for a second?
The boat name is Pepper, the Roselles.
Hey.
I would just like to say on behalf of Bayview Yacht Club that it's really nice to see a joint regatta again. It's been a while since Bayview and Crescent have teamed up, and in my experience in 40 years of racing, I've never had a bad time when the two forces have teamed up. So congratulations to all the competitors. Maybe next year someone will invite me to come sail.
Thanks, Paul. And I got to reiterate what Paul said. It's great when our two clubs work together because we are the best sailing clubs in the lake, and we make sailing happen. And when we work together, it gets better and better for everybody out here. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you, Baby, for working with us on this. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Talk with Ken Swecka. Ken, we had 3 major races at Crescent this year. We're just finishing up with the Cal 25 Nationals. We obviously had the Thistles and the Flying Scots here.
And the Stars.
And the Stars. And that was a district race, if I'm not mistaken.
Blue Star Regatta, and it was their 100th anniversary here in the Detroit area. So.
I think a landmark year for the.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually happen quite like that. I just wonder what you thought as a Commodore.
No, it's a great experience for the Commodore because it really shows. It lets us show off our club. It lets us show off in our membership. I'm looking around because our membership are the ones that make it happen. All I do is, as a Commodore, is plant a little seed here and there and say yeah, but it's the people around me that really make it all happen. And it's this club that everybody puts their shoulders to it and makes it all happen. And it's just wonderful to watch it all come together.
When you watch the regional aspect of this, does this help put us, not that we're not on the map, but does it help put gives us a little more gravitas? Or is that
it might, but it's nice because we don't, as Crescent, we don't really look to that.
Right.
It's not what we're looking for all the time, but sure, it's nice that people recognize us. And what we've seen from the people that ever come here to do any event, whether it's the Bod Regatta or any other event, when they come to the club and they walk around, they see how we do things and how everything works, they go away happy. They go away saying, "Wow, it's a cool place," and that's enough. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah.
It's a cool place.
It wasn't meant as an ego question. It was simply meant as that we're going to be probably hosting a lot more championships because of the kind of year you have.
Oh, yeah.
Is that fair?
Oh yeah. I'd like to do a Thistle Nationals here. I'd like to see us do a national championship maybe once per year of some kind, some caliber. Because I think we're perfectly capable of doing it. Obviously, we have all the perfect race committee here, so in a pretty darn good venue. So
we're talking with Tracy McAllister. Just you're the kind of the glue that held this event together. So what kind of work goes into putting an event like this on?
It takes a lot of work. We planned this for well over a year. So we did a budget. We had many executive meetings. We talked about sponsors. We had to get the pro and the judges. It actually was a lot of work. My husband John and I and Paul Nuechterlein went out and solicited a number of great partners and sponsors in the area, and we pulled this all together, and it was, I think, a wonderful event. We had 3 great days.
Do you have any idea how many man hours that you probably put into something like this? It's got to be hundreds.
Yeah, we had many meetings, like monthly for a while, and then several phone calls, and just a lot of work. You're right, a lot of man hours.
Obviously, it came out well. Everybody seems to be happy. So
everyone's happy, and our party last night with the raffle was wonderful. We thank all of our sponsors and our partners for helping us put on such a wonderful event with these excellent sailors in this one design class.
Thank you.
I want to thank Paul for taking some time out and all the folks that were involved in the Cal 25 national race at Crescent Sail Yacht Club. If you don't know Paul, I'm just going to say there's not a better deserving champion. He's a great soul and somebody that works hard. And at the age of 68 to win this, I think his expression said everything. So congratulations to Paul and all the crew that he had, Ken Swecka, his son, Ross, Ron Sherry. I don't want to forget. Then I think I'm forgetting one more crew member. But congratulations to all those guys, and we'll talk to Greg Coburn in just a couple of seconds about sharks. Welcome back. We're talking with Greg Coburn, who is the 4-time world champion in the Shark boat, which is a 24-foot skip built by George Hinterholder, and we'll have that conversation about the boat itself. But you just won North Americans.
That's correct.
We're talking to you from Toronto, and you just competed here, I believe, in the Windsor area.
Yes, at the actually in Tecumseh, Ontario, just outside of Windsor, at the Southport Sailing Club.
Well, first of all, congratulations, and I appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Thank you.
We got to start with the idea that let's talk about the boat itself. Boat built in 1959, got popular early 60s. It's a Canadian built and sort of a Canadian invention, if you will, because
it is
the great George Hinterholder kind of migrated from Austria to Canada and started building this boat. And just kind of give us the brief history of the Shark.
Well, as I said, you have that correct. And George was living in Niagara on the Lake and designed a shark and started building them at Niagara. And I mean, it was a bit before my time, and it just seemed to take off, particularly in the Toronto, Ontario, Lake Ontario area. And I think it just seemed to fit a unique niche. It wasn't an expensive boat. It's an easy boat to sail. It's trailerable, and not particularly expensive. And he built, he built several thousand boats. And at some point, he arranged, I guess, with his Austrian connections, he arranged for the boat to be built in Europe. And a German fellow by the name of Bodo Gunther, they didn't have I don't think they had a formal business relationship, but he was the builder in Germany. And we just lost Bodo. He was in his mid 80s, just lost him a couple of months ago, and a real loss to the fleet. But Bodo was instrumental in growing the boats in Germany. So right now there's probably I think the sale numbers were up to about 2,500 sharks having been built. They were being built in Germany up the last couple of years, but there haven't been boats being built in Canada for quite some time, which is interesting. We've had a number of builders after George decided to move on from sharks. A couple of builders came in. C&C Yachts built it for a while, and a couple of other smaller ones. But the interesting thing is that there hasn't been a builder for 15 or 20 years, at least that long. But somehow the old boats people keep buying the old boats, refurbishing them. They'll buy a beater boat. They're built so well with a cast iron keel. They can buy a boat for a couple of $1,000, spend a few more money and they're off to the races. I'll give you an example. For instance, at this weekend's regatta, there were two boats, sail number 42 and sail number 36, hull number 42 and 36, which means they were built probably about 66 or 67. If you saw these boats, you would think they just came out of a boat builder right now. So the owners they're finding different companies that can tart them up, and we've got very tight specifications. I think that's the other real advantage to it, is that we're class is very well run administratively, and so we don't get any people really trying to do anything that gives them any distinct opportunity. We're very strict on weights, on the weight of the boat, and we're very strict on inventories and things of that nature. And it's a very rigorous measurement process, and that allows people to a brand new boat won't really have any advantage over an older boat. This is what I'm saying.
You've got a fleet in Port Huron. You've got some fleets. I say Port Huron, Sarnia. I should point out this is before I get into the fleets. It's kind of a Canadian anomaly. It's really popular up there. And the reason I'm asking this question, we had Cal 25 Nationals, which is a part of this show, and it's a very unique group of people and owners that own those boats and that have been built in 40 years. Sharks are it's a very similar storyline.
Exactly. Yeah.
And why are sharks only more popular in Canada and maybe not in the United States? Is it just?
That's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, there was a very strong presence in the Buffalo area of sharks. A Buffalo Canoe Club adopted them, but when basically, I would say the J24, the J22, other boats like that just seem to replace it in popularity. It's not a high performance boat like some of these in that regard. But it's a very competitive boat, and I think and it's a very collegial boat. Everybody, it seems to attract, for the most part, attracts people that have the right attitude about recreational sailing or recreational racing. But at a high end, at the top end of the fleet, there's some really good sailors who it's very, very competitive. So it touches a lot of points on that, but it's just never really. It is a Canadian phenomena, and it's as I said, it's fairly popular in three European countries: Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
when it was built, the first four were built were wood, and then somebody, I guess the fifth guy, decided to make it fiberglass and he actually helped build the boat.
That's
And
right.
then the follow up to that is that it's a light displacement boat at a time when most of the boats that size were not light displacement, so it was just faster than everybody else.
Yeah, it was. It's very fast and very fast, and it's great. It's great in windy weather. And with its sail inventory, we have a couple of different head sails. So we have a what we call a 180, 180% sail. That's for lighter breezes, and then we have a 150, and we also have a 120%. So depending on your crew weight or the conditions, you got some choices there, and that keeps people competitive as well.
Is it profiled downwind better, upwind, reach? What's its best characteristic?
I would say it's probably downwind or reaching. It's a challenging boat to sail upwind. You really have to be very careful in terms of you can't stuff it into the waves like you can with some other boats or just crank it in. You really got to, in my opinion, at any rate, have a finer touch on the helm going upwind, and particularly when the wind comes up. But once the wind comes up, it really does go very, very well. And it's because of the rig, it's an easy rig to depower. I have a very powerful backstay, and when you need to, you can really depower the rig. And your crew. We have no restrictions or requirements on crew weight. You can have three. You have to have a minimum of 3 on board. You can have 4, but the weight, the all up crew weight's not a factor, or it's not dictated. And my guess is that 450 to 500 pounds of crew weight is enough to get the boat around in any conditions.
If there were two of me, that'd be your whole crew. That'd be 500
Well,
pounds.
there's some 600-pound crew weights out there. I'm just saying that you can see you've seen guys out there with their wives and their 2 kids,
And reading about the boat, we're going to interview in a couple of weeks. We're going to interview Bill Lee, the Santa Cruz genius, and he said in some of his writings that he got a lot of his downwind thought process from George, and just because he was ahead of the times,
right?
And it's amazing how the architectural process differs and how boats change from group to group. So I guess everybody shares, but from everything I've seen, these boats are fast. I mean, they're really fast for their size.
Yeah, they are, and I don't know much about perf at all but there are a number of sharks in some of the areas where there's smaller fleets where they sail perf, and my sense of it is that they do okay in the perf. So the rating is they don't have a big disadvantage of that, but I really can't talk to that with any kind of authority. It's just really what I hear. There's a guy in the shark fleet who has a sticker on the boat, on the back of his boat, and he says, real friends don't let their friends sail perf, or something like that. So
I got to ask this question because as I'm looking at you on my screen, you and I look like we're in the same age group. I'm assuming the reason I'm asking the question, the national champion for Cal 25s was Paul Nuechterlein, who just turned 68.
Okay.
I'm assuming
I got 2 years on him. I'm 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think about a sport being a national or an international or a world champion in your 60s, certainly your late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
That's the unique part of sailing, is it not? To be able to be competitive
with this boat, it is, and like even my 2 crew aren't spring chickens. They're in their 60s, but they're athletic, they're fit, and they're very good sailors. They sailed all their lives. So, but we can. I mean, we sometimes have 1 or 2 Advil days, but or leave days, but it's it is. But be honest with you, there's I was just commenting this at North Americans. There were at least 4 or 5 other top boats where the skippers were, the crews were in their 30s, their 30 to 40s, and so we're attracting another generation in there who because the boat's affordable. It's affordable. You don't and we've got a group of sailmakers who are sort of working the fleet. There's Doyle has entered the fleet. North has some boats or some sails, offers some sails. So there's a number of sail choices as well. So so the fleet's still strong in that regard.
But Greg, what's remarkable, you won your first world championship in Oakville in '93, and in
Right.
Toronto in '17, you're taking a second place. So you expand, 30, 35 years of being competitive at a very high level. That's pretty unique. And
You know, some people tell me I should get a life, but that's what I do.
now you belong in Toronto. You belong to what club?
I'm at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club.
Okay.
And we have a fleet of 29 sharks there.
So when you get to the starting line, it's not 4 boats. It's a serious fleet.
Well, we actually have 2 separate starts. We have a start for the spinnaker fleet, and then we have a number of people who just want to race club racing, so it's white sail. They just do white sail. But right, we have some. I've always, as sort of a testimony to my fellow RCYC members, there's at least 5 or 6 really good boats there, and I've always said the hardest race to win is an RCYC club race, because you've really got to sail. You've either got to get a big break or sail perfectly, because there's really, really good competition there.
Right.
In Toronto, there's the National Yacht Club has a good fleet. There's a town just outside of Toronto, east of Toronto, called Whitby, which has a strong fleet. Belleville, another town further east, has a good fleet. Kingston, Ontario, Montreal, Niagara-on-the-Lake, Youngstown, Niagara-on-the-Lake. So yeah, there's lots of guys of my vintage or close to it that are still able to sail the sharks.
You race. How much do you cruise on that boat?
I don't cruise at all. Actually, I've my floating cottage is a non-such 30.
Oh,
so, yeah.
okay.
So I'm a little long on boats, but
I belong to Crescent here in the Detroit area. We have, I think, 7 or 8 now non-suches.
Yeah, we've got 21 at the RCYC. It's that's another, and of course my non-such was built by Hinterholler.
Right.
Yeah, they're another example of a boat that just hangs in there, and they're very popular, and I've had a number of people approach me about whether I wanted to sell my non-such. That's how popular they are. So
It's a cult boat. My wife's been on a couple of them in our club, and that's the next step. I want something with speed, and she wants something with comfort. I want the comfort, but it's just
the non-such is comfortable. I mean, I always say, the only thing you have to do when you tack is move your drink from one hand to the other.
Right. All right, last question. You're headed to Europe when? September?
Yes, I'm heading out next Wednesday. So what's happening there is we're going to a small yacht club in the south of Lake Constance called Bregenz Yacht Club. Bregenz is in the town of Bregenz, Austria. And what they're doing, which is really quite unique, is starting a week this Saturday, is for 3 days will be the Austrian National Championship. So we'll be there in time to do that as a bit of a tune-up. And that goes to Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then the World starts on the Wednesday and goes through to the following Saturday. So it's going to be intense 9 or 10 days of sailing. But it's good that we're getting this opportunity to practice before the Worlds.
Well, Greg, we'll check in with you. If you get it top 3, we'll like to come back and maybe talk with you a little bit about winning what essentially would be your 5th World Championships.
Well, let's hope so. I've looking forward to it. There's going to be there's 4 or 5 really good Europeans there as well with their own boats. So yeah, we got our work cut out for us, but it's always a great time, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Appreciate your time. Have a great trip, and best of luck at Worlds.
Thanks very much. Nice chatting with you.
I want to thank Greg and Paul Nuechterlein for coming aboard and talking to us a little bit about their championships at the advancing ages of retirement. When you win a national, or in this case, a North American championship in the 5 years after you're retired, that's kind of cool. So this is the one aspect of the sport that really changes. You can win a championship at any age, and both Greg and Paul have certainly proved that. So we appreciate their time, and congratulations, because they're just both really good guys. We will be back next week with another show, so stay tuned hopefully next week. And for all the guys in back, I want to thank you for watching.